Hi everybody, this is a video response for Gypsy Chique's Art of Tarot series, and she just did the sun. And if you haven't seen it yet, I will link it below, and be sure to watch it. Her videos are always great. She's so nice and she's so funny and beautiful. You'll just love her videos. So, yes, the sun. So I'm starting with the Druid Craft Tarot. But before I talk about the image there, I'd like to talk about the number. So the sun is number 19. And it's just a little interesting fact that there was an old Greek astronomer named Meton who discovered a solar cycle that takes 19 years. And what it is when there's a full solar eclipse, it takes 19 years for that solar eclipse to come back around to the same place in the sky. So it's called the Metonic cycle, named after him. And so I think that's kind of interesting, that little connection with the number 19 and the sun card. And there's one other thing I'd like to talk about in numerology. 19, if you add 9 and 1 and you get 10. Now if you don't break it down further, the number 10, that 1 and the 0, are very much symbolic of the male and female principle, which is really written into this card. You know, that idea of creation. And so often, you know, the sun is a very creative card, and often you'll see a child. And that child has just been born, you could say, out of the womb of the earth, or you could say that that child has been born out of that male and female energy that has been, you know, going on throughout the major arcana. So in this deck they have the sun actually around the child's head, which usually denotes a solar deity. And the greenery around him is very, very soft, very light color. So it's showing that this is a young sun. So in a day cycle, this would be the morning sun. Or in the yearly cycle, it would be the springtime sun. We're not really talking about that summer sun yet. You know, you could see he's still he's a young child. Now the horse there, the horses, as I talked about in my solar symbolism video, horses often represent the sun, and you know, depending on the color and which way they're facing. But in this card, the horse is actually just taking him out of the garden and into the world for him to start his own creativity and his own life and his own accomplishments. Very much this card deals with accomplishments as well as joy and the creativity. Let's see, I don't know if it'll show up, but there are some salamanders here on the horse's straps there. And you can see a symbol of, he's got, you know, symbol of music there, joyous. So yes, that's the Druid Craft Tarot. Now I'd like to show you the Hesychos Tarot. Now, when you first look at this card, it just looks like a simple card, but I could probably talk about this card for half an hour, but I promise I won't. So what she's got here, you'll see the circle around the sun, and there are the four major points here. So let me just quickly go through the points. This would be the, make sure I'm doing it right here. No, okay, because it's backwards when I'm looking. Okay, so this would be the, here is the spring equinox here. Here is the summer solstice. Here is the fall, the autumnal equinox when the sun starts to fall. And here is the winter solstice where the sun dies. And so often you'll hear stories of a solar deity that dies on the cross. And this would be the cross here. These 4 points make a cross. Now in Egyptian ancient Egyptian beliefs or mythology, they would put Horus here as the young sun. Ra would be up here, where the sun is very strong and powerful. Then Set would be here. And he was always in opposition to Horus. And Set, because the sun is now setting. And Osiris would be here. He was known as the Dark King and is also related to Sirius B in the solar system. So I really love this card because there's just so much written in that card once you really understand what those 4 points mean. And, you know, when you see in certain movies, like vampire movies, when they hold up the cross for the vampire to flee, it's really a symbol of the sun. And I have my vampire tarot here, the sun card, and you could see he is shielding himself from the rising sun. So why is that? Well, the vampire mythology, in one of its levels, the vampires are, they're relating to, it relates to the moon energy, that more illusion and that dream state. So naturally, when the sun rises, the moon has to flee, as he's doing here. And you'll see in so many vampire books and movies, always he is fleeing. There are so many stories about, they're almost like natural enemies, the sun and the moon. Yes, so like I said, he's that cross and that sun symbolism. Now, it's sort of that idea when you say you're dreaming and the sun comes in and wakes you up. Now that dream kind of has fled from your mind in some cases, and that's sort of the idea here. Also, where the moon would be intuitive and inward, the sun would be logical and bring clarity. So that's why these two oppose each other. And the Vampire Tarot. Okay, let's look at the, you know what, let's look at the Mary L, because I mentioned Horus earlier. Now the Mary L, she's got, I wonder if you could see it. There are two falcons in this card. It's a little hard to see. And the falcons represent Horus and his place on the horizon. In fact, the word horizon comes from the word Horus. And even the word hours, if you just change the letters a little bit, Horus, that word, it means hours. So if you're looking at a clock and you're like, what time is it? What hour is it? You're kind of saying, like, where is Horus on the clock? So a lot of interesting symbolism about the sun. Okay, let's look at the Thoth deck. I like it. He has 12 large rays coming out of the sun there. Now, if you can see, there, here is the the astrological symbols here, all around the sun. And you can see the sun is just coming over the mountain, so it still gives you that idea of an early sun. The cherubs are rejoicing. And there's a ring here, which I think would denote that alchemical marriage has been completed, where the male and the female have, that we saw back in the Lover's card, and the energies we saw in the Temperance, in the Temperance card, have now, that process has been completed, and, you know, given birth to this new sun. So there's a lot of rejoicing in that accomplishment. So let's look at some other alchemical decks. Here's the Alchemical Tarot. It's very clearly shown here with the male and the female. And let's see, you can see there's the moon here, and the sun is rising up to meet her. And, you know, the male and female, the two figures there are intertwined. And the sun here, again, is just coming up over the horizon. You can see that their accomplishment has been crowned. And alchemically, this would refer to the yellow stone or golden stone. So we've really made that accomplishment here. And let's look at the sevenfold mystery. And it's similar here. So the mermaid who had been in the moon card now has risen to higher levels, or a different level, now to meet with Apollo and connect with that male energy. And Apollo there has 7 rays on his crown there, you know, which denotes the sun. Okay. And, I did bring out the Morgan Greer. I know I hadn't before. But this also has a male, it appears to be a male and female figure looking at each other very lovingly. The sunflowers. And here's this, now if you look at the wall almost as a horizon, then you can see where the sun is just above that. Again, a young sun. And the Anna K is very, very simple, warm, and beautiful. Just a beautiful, warm sun. I like the sunflowers there, and kind of gives that idea of as above, so below. Very lovely card. Okay, this is the from the Book of Shadows, the As Above. And as I often say, I don't really like this deck, and I don't really like this card. So you'll see sitting there, supposedly would be the solar deity. Next to him is a woman, a goddess, I guess, who is pregnant. So it gives that idea of creation, and he's holding a little bunny. But I don't know if you could see it, but his face is very solemn. I don't feel anything joyous when I look at this card. And, I mean, honestly, I have seen happier people in the dentist's office than I see in this card here. So, you know, it just doesn't quite work for me. And, okay, so let's look at the Vision Quest Tarot. Very beautiful, colorful, joyous card. With the woman just welcoming the warmth and life and love of the sun. There are 16 rays there. So I think that might be the 12 zodiacal signs plus the 4 points, which would be 16. And you could see the hummingbirds and the cactus there, all just enjoying and soaking up the sun. Now let's check out the Housewives Tarot. So the wife there is serving breakfast to her husband, who looks exuberant about it. And again, giving that idea of a new sun. It's morning time. And, you know, obviously look at that big sun above them with the 2 sunny side up eyes, eggs for eyes. Very cute, as always. So that's it for the sun. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gypsy. And the next one is Judgment. So I'll see you then. Bye.